Hello, everyone. Sorry about that. There I am. How are you all? Happy day after 4th of July to all of my American viewers out there, and happy Friday to everyone else out there. I'm checking my lipstick. I put it on, but you can't see it if it's not red. So let me add a little touch of red. There we are. I'm ready. I hope you're ready. Sorry, it was crazy. Oh, around here, I'll tell you, I've been doing all kinds of stuff this morning, running around. So forgive me, I am a little tardy this morning. But it's great to have you all here with me today. We're going to do a fun project, a Beading 101 project, um, which is all about Endtips. And I'm going to share with you some of my tips because they're good tips. They're great. And I like I like using Endtips a lot. And I'm going to show you a couple of I don't know what my hair is doing right now. A couple of pretty good tips, if I do say so myself, to work with them. Here, let me fix that piece. There we go. All right. Um, yeah, so let's get into it. I believe Janice is here. She is. It is just crazy hot. It's going to be 110 here today. It's already 92 at 10:43 a.m. Oy, crazy. So hydrating, hydrating. Mm. I'll tell you the heat. I mean, if it's not the heat, it's the cold, right? So what are you going to do? Right? We're just going to work through it. Fridays, as you know, are a little more casual, so I'm going to go ahead and clean my glasses. Talk to you a little bit about stuff that's coming up. We've got, we were talking about it this morning. We've got the lovely Danielle Wicks is coming to join us on a broadcast. We are getting her box clasps and everything back in. So you'll see her, I believe it's July 26th. Yes, it's that Friday. So mark your calendars. Okay. Danielle will be here. She's got a fun project for us. So I'm so super grateful that she's here. So thank you, JP, for setting that up. Glasses did not get clean, so let me keep trying it again. And let me also tell you, we heard from our buddies who are now distributing Tierra Cast that those are coming in. So our new Tierra Cast, not new, but our restocks of Tierra Cast are going to be in soon. So you'll see we ordered some of the old favorites. And you'll see those. They'll be in the newsletter. But Janice got us a great variety of some of the old favorites. So what is with the glasses? I'm just going to keep cleaning them. I don't know. Can you never get your glasses clean? Maybe it's just me. I'll have to go glasses free because it's no better. Yeah, so they shipped, they're shipping on Monday. So you'll see those, I don't know, a couple weeks, I think, probably. What's the other news? The other news is the rest of the Bead Shop Studio orders will ship out today. So thank you for your patience. My new studio I'm moved in. I just need to do some organizing. It's crazy, but at least everything is moved in. If you're in the Fresno area, next Thursday is Art Hop Day. So Art Hop, there we go. That's just what I'm going to go with. Art Hop is the great art fest that happens once a month. I also cleaned my camera so I look good there. Okay, there we go. How am I looking? And Art Hop usually happens the first Thursday of the month. That's better. But since it was 4th of July, it is going to be on the second Thursday. So if you're around, it's all over. You can look up Art Hop on the. Thank you, JP, for linking that. You'll see all the Art Hop venues. Everybody's doing it on the 11th, which is going to be great. Many of our friends who were at Sorensen's have found kind of a temporary venue that they're working with. And so they'll be downtown as well. But I'm really excited to be in a good spot, very on brand, as Chris as Chris said. He goes, "This is so much more Kate Richburg." So it's fun. So I'll do a video from there soon, because I think you folks are going to love to see it. Okay, I think I've settled myself now. Whew. Let me take another swig of water and let's get down to end tips, shall we? If you're watching this on replay, you know our Ellen goes ahead and does all the time stamping for our video. So you can miss like this, I don't know, 10 minutes or whatever I've done, 12 minutes of chit chat, and you can get right to the heart of the matter. So yes, the famous red tape measure. Here it is. Yes, these earrings, these are the monthly, the Tuesday, no, let me try that again. The third Thursday earring I did for this month. I was really pleased with them. They were a lot of fun. Drea has designed, whoops, and now it's on the floor. So let me just put these in. I'll just let them stay on the floor. Between Drea's episode on Wednesday when the dog was barking and now me trying to pull it together. Ay, ay, ay. But yeah, so here we go. Let me put another one. All right. Well, it's crazy. You know, when a holiday, I love these two. When a holiday hits in the middle of the week, right? Especially like a family holiday, like for Independence Day, and, you know, you're up late because your neighborhood has, everybody's shooting off fireworks because for some reason fireworks are legal, not the illegal kind, but the safe and sane fireworks are legal here in Fresno. So everybody and their brother shoots off fireworks. So, Chris and I were up late and the cats were up, and, we may or may not have had a lovely bottle of wine that Chris bought. So anyway, that all may contribute to my discombobulation. Anyway, all right. Now I'm really set. Earring change, costume change. Thank you for sticking with me. Oh my gosh, so many of you are watching. This is going to be one for the record books. But let's get to the teaching, shall we? All right. Okay, so here we go with the end tips. And I want to show you, I pulled out this little sample piece that I did because I'm going to show you a couple of things here with this, but I'm going to show you some tricks that you haven't seen. You may have seen me do, but you haven't seen me do in a while. So they're really good tricks. Oh, Leslie, you'll see Christine again. Actually, Christine is going to come and hang out with me at the end of August. So maybe I'll get her on a broadcast. And of course, you'll see Christine again in Tucson. Of course, she is busy. Her real job is she is the education director for the Natural History Museum in San Diego. So if you ever go visit the Nat in San Diego, let me know. I'll let Christine know. She'll love to see you. She'll give you some special behind the scenes looks. It's really fun. So Carrie, great question. Are they strong enough for a heavy piece? And is there a way to strengthen? That's actually a great place to start. So let's take a look at these. Okay. We've got the two different types of end tips. We've got the cup end tip right here. And we've got the clamshell. Okay, so let me slide in a little tighter here. There we are. And Stem Hilliard is a great gig. She's in the middle of summer camp right now. They do an amazing summer camp program. They're celebrating, I think it's the 150th anniversary of the Nat. But Christine has done a lot to get grants for kids that can't afford summer camp, all kinds of great stuff. So the Nat is really great. And yes, it is in Balboa Park, as is the famous San Diego Zoo. So yeah, it's amazing. It's a beautiful museum. She's a museum studies major. So yeah, she's amazing. So, and she's been my bestie since we were 15 years old. So, Christine, I hope your ears are burning because I'm singing your praises. Sometimes she jumps on in here, but I don't think she's here today. She's been so busy. Okay. So the two end tips here, this is the clamshell and this is the cup. Now, they are both strong because, let me show you. When you close them, and I've got this little sample right here with the cup. Can you see that? Right? Yeah, Janice, museum studies is a thing. I had no idea that museum studies were actually a thing when I was going, but I think San Francisco State has it. It's where Christine went. And you can get your master's in museum studies and stuff. I know. I would have liked that too. I would have never had a bead career, and I would have been running the New York MoMA, maybe the costume division. Who knows? I don't know. But anyway, yeah, it's pretty cool. So here is that little cup and tip. Can you see that? And when you close it, see how the hook, it's kind of small to see, but the hook is kind of small. Can you see it? And the way that I connect so that they have movement here is I always use a jump ring. Can you see that? If you connect, like some of the end tips are a little bit larger, like this clamshell has a larger hook, but this hook for this clamshell or for this cup end tip, I don't need to put it on. You can see it. It's smaller and it clamps down a little tighter to the clasp. So there's no movement there, right? So like Janice says, you always want this to act like a little elbow or a little joint, right? So it has movement. If it doesn't and it's stiff, it's going to wrangle this end tip open. Okay. Let me get a couple of samples here for you while you look at that. If you wanted to screenshot this at all to remind yourself, there it is. Leslie, you could use an oval. I just oval jump ring. I use a jump ring that is small. That's my main criteria. So that it's not too huge, so that it doesn't pull out, right? So there's enough for movement, but not so big that it's going to have too much movement and pull open. Okay. And I'd use at least an 18 gauge jump ring. The 5mm 18 gauge or the 6mm 18 gauge are both good. I want to show you, here we go. I'm just gathering a couple of samples here that I want to show you with these. And this is a good old tried and true piece here. Okay. This is, and you've seen this before, this is my famous 10 feet of knotted pearls that I knotted a billion years ago, back in 1994. Can you see, this is with that, we call it kind of the fish hook, or it's the classic pearl knotted clasp. We carry these in the gold fill and the sterling. But can you see here, I've used the clamshell for this one. And I made a mistake on this side. It hasn't broken, But see right here, I added a knot here between this pearl and this clamshell. This side is correct. You don't want a knot here because this little, it acts kind of like a skinny little neck, right? So it's moved around. So yeah, I would use, Kathleen, you could use either. I usually use an open jump ring because that jump ring then, see right here, it has to go around the clasp. So that's, I think this is the 5 mil here. But if you have a variety of jump rings, just figure out what sits right? You have to figure out what the end tip sits, what sits nicely in the end tip, and then what sits nicely on the clasp. Okay. Let me see. Oh, and congratulations, Kim Crawford, on your niece. That's awesome. That's so awesome. I'm going to show you, Susan, the clamshell. It is used for knotted pieces, but I'm going to show you how I actually use it sometimes with Softflex. It's a little extra tip. And thank you, Janice. Exactly. The knot next to the end tip exposes the metal of the end tip to extra wear and tear. And you want that end of that end tip to sit right up next to the bead so it doesn't kind of grind on that thread, if that makes sense. Okay. Now you can also use an end tip without knotting. I'm going to show you. You could just knot it if you were doing regular thread, and we're going to do that as well. Okay. So let me zoom this out here. Okay. So yeah, here are the 10 feet. The 10 feet of pearls. I love these. I still wear them. I wear them all the time. I highly recommend it. These were beautiful freshwater pearls. So fun. I wanted to show you also real quick, pearls don't have to be on thread, right? We can do them on Softflex as well. You can see that this section of pearls, it's not knotted, right? Let me go in a little bit tighter. I used an 11/0 bead right here. And then I used a crimp cover, and a wire guardian right there. So you can kind of emulate the look of the knotting with, I kind of made this all kind of one color. And then, of course, it's all clasped there at the end like so. And so this was a piece that I did with some of those soldered rings that we had in Bead Shop Studio for a while right here. And I had these loops here to just add charms on and off, right? You can put a little charm on a lobster claw and then add your charms into those. That's kind of a fun, it's kind of a fun design, kind of a fun thing. Also on this one, I wanted to show you this closure. And now that we're getting Tiara cast back, we also carried these in Bead Shop Studio for like a hot second. I'm going to get some of these back in for you. It's this gate, what they call a gate ring or a gate clasp. It's the round one. I love these. This is in natural brass, raw brass. But what I used here on the end were some loops from Tiara Cast. This was like the Forest Secrets or something. I can't quite remember what it was called, but if they still carry it, which I think they will, we'll be getting those back in. Let me focus. Sorry. Yeah, I will get these. I wanted to just see if you folks loved them. And you did. So yeah, that 10 foot of necklace, my mom's saying, I actually made it for my first wedding way back in the day when I married the first time. Great guy. Just we were way too young, so it didn't work out, but no harm, no foul. I don't think I was nervous. I think that I was procrastinating. So I did. I carried around that pearl knotting the week before my wedding, and just knotted it the whole week. But I still have it. Marriage didn't last, but the necklace did. Testament to my pearl knotting skills, I guess. Yeah, and it was the Forest Secrets ring was the toggle clasp here. And so can you see I put a loop on both sides, and can you see here right there, that's the end tip. Can you see that? And I put a little A-dot bead right up against it. And then like this, or any of these like carabiner clasps that we also put in Bead Shop Studio, right? And again, I'll get those all back in for you. I'm so glad you folks loved them. This is such a sturdy clasp, and I love, love, love the way it looks. So that's how I did that closure there. I think it has a nice look to it. So again, those are end tips, and this is knotted. You could add a little charm or something here as well. Very, very simple. Okay. So, okay. The basic function of an end tip, and since you did say it, Kim, I am going to draw it out, what I usually do when I teach this for you. Let me get a piece of paper here. I can pull it out. Come on. The little end tip holds the knot onto your clasp. Okay, so this, and they both have holes, Susan. Great question. They both have holes in the bottom of the cup. So the clamshell looks like this. It's a little clamshell, goes like this, right? The hole is right there at the bottom, and the hook is on the side like that. Okay? So when you tie the knot, if this is our thread, and our knot is tied here, 2 strands, your thread comes through, and then it's attached to the needle here. Okay? The thing that you need to make sure on all of these, and it's what I want to reiterate today, that this knot right here has to be large enough so it doesn't pull through the end tip. Okay, I've made that mistake. I actually have a necklace sitting right over there that I did not tie the knot large enough, and the knot pulled through the end tip. The only thing that you can do in that case is restring, right? Because you don't have enough thread to repair this. Then the cup end tip looks like this. It has a little cup. The hook looks like that. And there's the hole in the cup. Now, and I'm not sure if our end tips, and Janice, you can check them, but a lot of times the end tips, the holes in the end tips, the knot sits there. The holes in the end tips are different sizes, right? Usually the hole size, can you see that in, let me put it, see that hole size? That hole size is huge in that, look how far it goes down on my awl, right? In the cup, right? Then this one, that was the clamshell. This one, that's the cup. See how the hole is a lot smaller there, right? So you really want to make sure that the knot you're tying is large enough. Okay, so let's talk about knot tying. All right, and I'm going to use this size F silk right here. And I'm going to use, this is regular Ceylon. I think I want to use fine if I have some sitting here. Usually, pardon me, if I string with Ceylon, I use I use the fine because it's a little thinner than the regular. Here we go. This is what I want. This is the fine. It's a little thinner than the regular, and I always want to double it over. When I knot, or even if I just string with this thread, I always use a thread that's doubled over, because if one of my threads breaks, right, then the other thread will hold. Okay. So this is, and yes, Kathleen, you are reading my mind, right? I'm going to talk to you about the size 11s, and I've got 11/aughts actually right here. Ha ha! Great minds. Look how smart we are. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm just going to cut a small piece. I'm going to use this seal-on first. But it's a really good tip because your threads, especially on larger end tips, like these with the cup, your thread can pull through. So I had my needles sitting here. There we go. I think these are medium, maybe. Okay, like this. And yes, I will always glue the knot as well, Linda. Exactly. Okay. So let me show you here. I'm just going back. So here's this. I'm going to go through my short little piece here. Now, if I were doing this with just a knot and nothing else for a stopper, okay, what I'll do is I'll tie the thread and I'll tie my knot and I'll go through once, I'll go through twice, and on this clamshell, I'll go through a third time. Okay, now I'm going to pull it tight. See how the knot just kind of compacts itself down. So instead of tying a giant knot, one knot on top of the other on top of the other, I've just looped it through several times, right? Like that. So I've got a nice big knot there. Okay. Now I'm going to add my glue. And you want the glue, I'm looking for a little baggie. You want to make sure that your glue saturates the knot. And the glue that I use is the GS Hypo. I don't use Zap because the Zap will run down the thread and stiffen it into the pearl. Okay? Like that. So we don't want to do that. We just use this. Then we're going to put our clamshell on. Okay? But I'm going to cut this off because I'm going to show you something else. Okay? Here's my thread snips. So let's get rid of that one. Let's go ahead, especially with, let me get the lid back on here. Bear with me here. Oh, went on the first try. Awesome. Okay. I'm going to tie my knot one more time. Now I'm only going to tie like a single knot. Okay, this is with the fine. I'm going to tighten it down pretty tight. Now let's check this single knot for fun. Okay, to see how that goes on. Right, slide it on and see if I give it, oh, with the seal on, look at that. That actually is good. Right? It's not going through. And it's because this thread is a little heavier. That's great. Good. I still would probably double knot this actually instead of triple knotting it. But look, it's not going anywhere. That's great. Let's use this same end tip, but let's do a single with the silk. Okay. I love the spooled silk. This is a size F. Silk, as you'll see, compacts down a little tighter. Where did my other needle go? No, seriously. I'll have to get another one. Let me see if I can find one. I think I've got it here. That's what happens when I take two needles out. to work on. One inevitably goes missing, but thankfully I've got another one here. This one is the German needle, but that's fine. Get that one there. Size F silk. Let's tie a single knot, okay, and see what it looks like. Go through, tie the knot at the end. And I always test, always test, right? To make sure everything is right. So I'll like tie my knot. I'll also put on a few beads, tie the knots in between to make sure the knots are the right size. So you have to go through like a little audition process, right? I'm going to slide this on, and it's the same end tip, but see that silk, it compacts down so much that it pulls through. So something like this, what we can do is we would go through once. Let's go through twice and see what the knot looks like. I feel like I want to do this a third time. Hi, Jennifer. I see your question. Hang on and I'll answer it. See, that double one also just went right through. Right? So let's try this again. I'm going to go through once. Oh, but let me show you with the cup. This doubled one with the cup should fit just fine because the hole's a lot smaller. If I can get it. There we go. Yes, see that? Look at that. Fits perfectly. The double. Okay. Let me do a triple knot. 1, 2, and 3. Tighten that down. And see how I push it against itself so it compacts the knot. See, that knot is there. Let's put this. And, oh, see, that one doesn't, the silk compacts down so much that, see, this just pulls right through. So let me show you my little trick here. Let me get an 11-aught bead. You can also do this, I think, with a 15. Let me grab a 15 as well, just for fun. Okay. Now, the question about the silk, and I'm looking for, like, this is an old spool of silk. Janice, you'll remember this. This is a size D in that tanzanite color. That spool of silk is probably 20 years old, if not more. All right. This is another old one in D that they don't make. I hoard my silk like crazy. I have it from bead shop days. I have it from Bedissimo days. Here's a double F in that navy. So these spools, I keep them away from light. Okay, I don't keep them in sunlight. I keep them in just a box, kind of together, right? But those are all old, at least 20 years old. Here's another size D, right? Like this. It's not going anywhere. So if you buy your silk, you'll be able to use it for forever. You can see this color might have faded a little. Let me unravel some of this. Yeah, see, I'm getting a little bit of a color change there on this silk. But see, it's not pulling apart. I know I miss this tanzanite color, one of my favorites for sure. I did triple knot this one, so I might have to go a couple more knots in there to get the knot fat enough, because the silk, it compacts down so tightly that the knot compacts down. Okay, but let me grab this 15 two. Let me see. I think I've got some right here. Yeah, here they are. I want to see if the 15s go over the doubled silk, because the 15s, they're a bead that's even smaller. So it might fit better into the end tip. Okay. So let me scroll out. And yeah, Karen, that's very smart. Old samplers like, like embroidery samplers or whatever. From like, I've seen some from like the late 1800s or whatever. And the silk is fine, right? So yeah, I think just don't put it in the sunlight and just check it, right? Pull it tight, pull it when you're using it. And you'll see if it breaks, then no. And Carrie, we do carry all of the silk. We carry it in the size F and in the size E, and we carry it in all of the colors that we can get now. It used to be that silk, this is one of my favorites too, just this nice ecru color. I use F mostly. Janice uses a lot of E. They used to carry it in a whole bunch of colors. This gold, look at this gold color, is just gorgeous, gorgeous. But we carried the whole gamut. We carried it at Bead Shop back in the day, and I carried it at Bedissimo back in the day. And we had it in all sizes, all colors. It also came on small cards, which it doesn't any longer. So yeah, but we're keeping it. We're getting our silk in as long as it's still being manufactured. So here's the size 15. See that tiny little size 15 bead? Yeah, I use ecru a lot, right? I use it a lot. So good question, Debbie. The number for the silk, excellent question. Forgive me for not explaining that earlier. The higher the letter is, the thicker the thread is. Okay. And if the letter is doubled, like double F is thicker than the single F, though you don't see double F much anymore, right? So size E is a little smaller than F, D is a little smaller than E. I think you can probably still find D, but not in that many colors. You can also just get the white silk. Whoops, the white silk is perfectly dyeable. You could dye it in any kind of dye or Kool-Aid or whatever kind of dye you want to use. Heat set it, iron it, set it with heat, and you'll be in good shape, right? It dyes beautifully. Silk takes dye just perfectly. Okay. So here's that size 15. I slid it up against that knot that I just knotted. And let's put this clamshell and see if if that 15 acts like a stopper there. Okay. And lo and behold, it does. And see how small that 15 is in there. What you would do is you'd glue this. I'm not going to glue it for real because, this is just demo time. But I glue it. I've let it sit overnight, 100% sit overnight. We used to have our friend, Janice, what was her name? Was it Catherine? Who was it that would do our pearl knotting? And unfortunately, she passed away. What was her name? She would bring in the pieces that she had done, and then we'd let them sit, right? And then we'd have to cut the ends off for the knots because they really had to sit. So see how you just cut that away? No, not Rita. It was after Rita. Janice. Rita was the one who taught you how to knot. But remember, she had the girls, those twin girls, that husband. She's a little troubled. Passed away. You'll remember her. And then let me see if I can find a clasp I just need like a little clasp ending. Nope, not Mia. Mia was the class director who was the class director before me. Remember, Mia was leaving and I became class director. Barbara. I think that was it. That is correct. I knew it would come. We we have so many. We had so many. And yeah, you can find all the silk carry under streaming materials on the website. So this is just a little loop. It's not the right clasp, but you'll see this. Okay, I'm going to close this off. This will be glued. I'm going to come in. I need a pair of, what I really want are bent nose. Bent chain nose. Yeah. And what I do here is I put the clasp on first, right? Like that. There's the spooled silk right there. We're also going to talk about the silk on the card. Okay, just bear with me here, but we'll talk about that. See there, I'm going to close this first. See how I've rounded it? That's real important. Round it, just don't smush. Okay, then I'm going to come in and I'll close up that clamshell. And I close it right up against, let me turn it this side. I close it right up against that little hook. So the hook is kind of inside there. Can you see that? Like that. Okay, that's it. So that's how you'd close it. The other side, what we do, let me get a couple of beads off of here. I'm just going to use these pearls because that's what I've got. Obviously, you'd knot them. This isn't going to be a lesson about knotting. It's just a lesson about end tips. So, oh, sorry, JP. I didn't mean to put that one up. Okay, so here we go. Now on this side, and see there's no knot in between, right? We don't want to add a knot. Let me focus here. Like that. Okay. Now you can decide if you want like a little kind of dainty thing on the end here, like a little bead, or I just saw these and I want to try these out. These are our caps from Nun Design. It's this size. I'm wild about this cap. Yes. Look at how beautiful that cap looks on the end. So pretty. And then you would put your end tip on. Obviously the metals would match, right? This is just a little demo, right? But remember how at the beginning we went through this side of the cup, right? At the end, we want to go through the bottom of the cup. Okay, so there's that. For this, I'm going to put on another 15. Oh, that might have been an 11 that I used. That was an 11, folks, because that was this color. Let me check and see if the 15 works. Okay. Yeah, those little, it was the 11 that I used, but let me see. We can just test it. Here's that tiny little 15. It could definitely be a design choice in the middle. So nice. These, I just love the way these look. Let me push this down and let me see if it pops over. It doesn't. I'm going to test it. I'm going to tie the knot with this 15 and see what happens. Okay. So now to tie the knot on this side, just as a reminder, I'm going to cut away my excess thread right here. Okay, and I'm going to leave myself a little bit of a tail. This is maybe 4 inches or so, like that. Then I'm going to come in and I'm going to tie right over left. I'm going to go through twice. like that and down. And I'm going to do the same thing here. Left over right. If you're not using the bead, you need to make the knot fatter. So I would do maybe 3 or 4 times through like that. And as I tighten, what I'm going to do is I'll get my glue. I'll put my glue down there. I'll tie the knot on top of my glue, and then I'll glue it again. So that little 15, can you see it? It's acting as a stopper there. And they're so small that even smaller than the 11s, but the 11s work as well. Okay. That's never going to pull through. Hi, Jane. We're on several different, we're on the Kate Richburg YouTube as well. So I know some of you are watching from there. Some of you are watching from our Bead Shop YouTube. You know what I'll do while this, I didn't, been so discombobulated this morning. I didn't even talk about where to find us. So let me flash that and I'll move on to my next one. You can find us, my friends, of course, on all of our Facebook channel, our Bead Shop Facebook channel. You can also join us over at the Bead Table, which is our wonderful Facebook group. Hit us up at beadshop.com on our Instagram. Check out our Pinterest pages. You can also check me out on Pinterest, Kate Richburg on Pinterest. I've got a lot of wacky boards over there, a lot of good just collections of things that I just like to look at. You can hit that like, subscribe, and notification button right on beadshop.com, right on our YouTube. Or if you're over on my Kate Richburg YouTube channel, hit that like and subscribe over there and then hop on over to Bead Shop. Bead Shop is where we do all of our regular broadcasting every Wednesday and Friday, as you know, at 10:30 a.m. Pacific. Also, my friends, if you have any questions, hit up Drea over at info@beadshop.com. Now, here's that loop, one of the Tiara Cast loops. Okay. And then what I would do is, again, I wouldn't connect this directly to here. I would use a small jump ring, I think. Right? Just to give it enough movement. Okay, just like that. Yeah, this is, thank you, Janice. It's the etched daisy cap right there. Oh, Karen, you're on Kate Richburg as well. That's awesome. Oh, on my Insta. That's right. Don't forget about my Insta. You'll see all of my adventures in different crafts. And my friends, I have got some fun things. Janice and I were just chatting about some cool kind of expansion projects that we're going to do. So I hope you're ready with your needle and thread, my friends. Okay, let me show you the difference now between these silks. All right, this is just a little quickie here, but there's a really good tip that I want to share with you using this thread with needle. So as you know, this thread with needle, I use this if I am knotting a float. And I don't have a float necklace sample here, but we've got a lot of samples on the Bead Shop website under our projects. But I just want to show you how this works. The silk on the card is by number, just to make this extra confusing, right? The silk by number, the size 4, is the same as the F. Okay, it's the same. So you'd come in, you're going to stretch it, you're going to do all that kinds of stuff. You've seen me work with this before, so I'm not going to belabor this, but I want to talk to you about using it with the end tip. Okay. So here's the end, and I want to show you the end of this. This silk looks deceptively like a single strand, right? but it's not. It's actually a doubled strand of thread. And you can see that if I unwind this or untwist this over here. Can you see how it's two strands that have been twisted together like this? Okay. So they've been twisted, 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 and the needle is twisted and put on the end. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to tie a knot, just a single knot like this. Okay. And you can do this with either this cup or the clamshell. Maybe I should do it with the clamshell, actually, because I'm going to do this with a little stopper. Let me do this with an 11. So get that 11. This is such a pretty color. 313 SF. Oh, can I focus? Yeah, sorry. Let me try and thanks for the heads up there. There we go. I think that's better. Yeah, our Stittionary, really great call out, Janice. Our Stittionary, our thread, our Needlepedia. We've got a lot of great info on those. That looks a little better, doesn't it? Okay. So I've tied the knot. I'm going to put this 11 knot on, and I'm going to go through this clamshell. Okay. And I'm just going to come in, and let's say that we're just making this float. I'm only going to tie just a couple, right? So I tie my knot at whatever space I want it to be. Tie that bead, tie that knot. Karen, this is a great question. If you're knotting a natural pearl necklace with gold beads, which silk would I use? Do you mean color-wise or size-wise? Color-wise, with natural pearls, I use the ecru a lot with natural pearls. I use usually, and it just depends on what size you want the knots to be. I would check them. I would probably use F, but Janice might want hers to be a little smaller, so she might use D. It just depends, right? So I would start with F, doubled over, and see how it works. Without seeing the pearls, that's my best recommendation. If they're tiny pearls, my guess is you'll want to go with the D. But if they're larger, usually pearls like this, these are 8mm or whatever. And Janice, thank you for putting that out. The holes with the gold on the gold beads will probably be the biggest factor for that. So you may have to double knot or something like that with those. Okay. Okay, so I've tied my other knot there. I'm going to pull this through, and we're going to do one more. Whoops. Take that out. There we go. I'm going to tie my knot here. Again, this is not about pearl knotting. We've got a lot of that. It's more about end tips here. Okay. So let's say with the float, obviously it would be a little bit longer because it would have to go around your neck. But what I do here to turn the corner, okay, is I'll put the end tip on. I'll put an 11 knot on. Slide it down to where I want it to be. Then that 11-aught is acting as my stopper bead, and I turn the corner. I turn back around. I make a U-turn. And see how that 11 acts as the stopper there. So instead of cutting the thread and trying to add another strand, right, I just put that 11-aught in the end tip and keep knotting. Okay, so it's less bulky. Then you just come back. And you can do this kind of switchback thing several times, you know, until you can also do it with a knot. You don't have to use an 11-aught, right? Or a 15-aught. You could tie a knot, but the bead really makes it not move anywhere. Okay, so there's my other pearl. This is a tiny little float necklace, right? I'll come here, tie my knot. Tie my other knot. Then I've got one more trick up my sleeve that I want to show you. Okay, after I finish this off. So now if this is my float, right, I can pull that away, and I'm going to go up through that end tip like that. Right, straighten everything out, like if this is the length I want my tiny little necklace to be. Okay. Then I'll go ahead and I'll cut away my extra. And I've been working on the end of this thread, right? So I still have the needle attached here. So it's still good to go, right? Yeah. CR, I don't think that will fit Alfred. It might go around his big cat wrist, but Alfie is, yeah, he's a bit giant. He was such a good boy. Fireworks none of the cats were really fussed by the fireworks. He was such a good boy. So now I'm going to come in here and I'm going to get a little closer with my cord. And I'm going to slide this down here because it's the float. I can slide it back. Let me there we go. I'm going to tie that knot, and the knot I'm going to tie is going to go through once, twice, 3 times here. And I can do this with just this knot like this because I can slide that end tip out of the way, right? So I can bring these 2 knots together. I can kind of see where they're going to sit next to one another. Like that. Whoops, sorry. I will glue that down. And then it'll sit right inside there. And there'll be room for that knot, right? If I have to tie, if that my beads are all the way up against this end tip, what I do instead of doing that overhand knot is I will unfurl the thread like this. You've seen me do that. And into its plies, and then tie a square knot using the plies here. Okay, like that. So that's this one. This is the last thing I want to show you. Because I know that some of you, when you use Soft Flex, you don't love the look of crimps. You could use the crimp cover, which I like, but this is also a good little trick. Where's my Soft Flex? Here it is. Where's my crimp tube that I put over here? Here they are. Here's my crimp tube. I'm going to open these up, get a crimp tube out. Now, let me just cut a little piece. This is the 0.019 Soft Flex, but you could do this with any size. Obviously, it would be a bit longer, right? I'm going to come in, if it were a bracelet, if it were a necklace. I'm going to come in, I'm going to use my crimping plier, and I'm going to crimp this crimp on the wire. And then I'm going to tighten it down. Okay, nice and tight, like that. Okay. Then I'm going to clip that away. Now I'm going to get another end tip. I need a cup end tip. I seem to have ran out of them. Where did they go? Or I want a clamshell rather, not a cup. I'm just going to cut this one open. No, that one's closed. No, here. I'm going to just use this one. There we go. Now, I'll come in, and that crimp tube is the stopper. Can you see that? So now you just close this up, around your clasp or whatever. I'm just going to close this. But that crimp sits right inside. Let me hold it this way. So it has the look of a finished crimp end, right? A finished crimp or a finished end tip without like the wire guard and stuff. So it's just a little different, maybe a little more of a vintage feel to it, right? And then you do the same thing, right? You'd crimp you'd string your pearls on, or whatever it is that you're stringing. And then on the other side is a little trickier now, right? So what you do on the other side is you put your end tip on, and then you put your crimp tube inside. And then what you need to do with that is you need to kind of position it kind of on the side when you crimp it. If you're having trouble doing that, then all you need to do is come in. I don't have an end tip on here, but let's pretend that I did. All you need to do is you can come in, you can crimp it nice and flat like that, and that flattened end tip will sit in the cup, right? You also want to make sure, though, that when you're crimping, remember this is wire. So you want to make sure to have enough room so that your necklace isn't super stiff. So curve it, right? So it sits nicely, and then do that final crimp. Okay, so I hope that makes sense. Oh, Jane. Oh, I'm glad. I use this trick with Soft Flex actually more than you think. I like the way it looks. I like the vintage look, especially if I'm restoring something where I want it to have this vintage look, but I don't want to use the crimp cover or the wire guard if it looks a little too manufactured. I think that's a good way to do it. So I'm glad. Yay. Hurrah. Yeah, I like using Softflex. There's a lot of fun ways to finish it. So just as a reiteration, don't forget, test everything. You can use that little 11-aught or 15-aught. We've also got those little covers, the etch daisy covers. You can use the Softflex with your crimp cover. With your clamshell inside. And then don't forget that turning of the corner kind of thing like that. Those are all fun to use. And don't forget, my friends, to use a loop or a jump ring when you connect things in, so it has some nice movement there. Janice is saying she likes to, and I do that as well, adding a metal bead or a cap next to the clamshell. It takes your eye away from the mechanical look of the clamshell and softens the look. I agree. I like doing that. I like ending it with, you could use a little metal bead. These are perfect for that. The 8-aught metal seed beads are great. You can couple that with a bead cap, just to add kind of a nice little vintage touch to it. Okay, my friends, I think that covers it. Whatever I did today with the silk, you could also use with the Ceylon. You can knot it. You can just string as is. You don't have to knot it, but the Ceylon will work. You can use the fine or you can use the micro. I use the micro a lot as well. Okay. That's my story, my friends. I'm sticking to it. I will see you next week. I'm not even looking at the calendar. I have no idea, but I will see you on Wednesday. Have a fantastic weekend. Get some rest. Stay cool. Hydrate. I'm going to keep hydrating. And I'll see you next week at 10:30 a.m. Pacific. Have a fantastic weekend, everybody. See you on Wednesday. Bye all.